Hi everybody, we're going to be looking at DGP week 11. The first thing we always look at on Monday is parts of speech. As we look at parts of speech, we typically start with our nouns. Do you see any nouns in this sentence? Go ahead and start marking them. I see a few nouns. I see the word items. This is a person, place, thing, or an idea. It's a thing. We have items. It's not the name of an item, specifically. It's not a brand name, so we're going to make it a lowercase n for common noun. I also see the word ladies. What kind of noun is ladies? If you said that it is showing ownership, so it is a possessive common noun, then you're correct. I also see one more noun. It's the word room. A room refers to a place. It's a noun, a common noun. I see one last noun. You might not have noticed it because it's kind of an unusual word. It's the word Ailey. Ailey is a name. What kind of noun is it? It's a proper noun. The next thing we want to look for is all of our verbs. You want to look for 3 types of verbs. There are action verbs, linking verbs, and helping verbs. What do you see in the sentence? The first verb I see is the word take. What kind of verb is take? Can you take something? Yes, you can. What kind of verb is that? It's an action verb, showing the action of taking. Past, present, or future. It's present tense. Do you see any other verbs in this sentence? I see a word that's a little confusing. It looks like a verb. That's the first sign that we might have a verbal. Remember, there are 3 types of verbals. We've seen a couple. We've seen gerunds and we've seen participles. And I think at one point this year we talked about infinitives. Well, I don't see a word to, so I know I don't have an infinitive. So we have to ask, what is this functioning as? It looks like a verb. I can get dressed. I can dress myself. That's a verb, an action verb, but it's not being used as an action verb here. What word is it modifying or describing? Oh, it's modifying the room. If it's describing a noun, then it's functioning as an adjective. Remember, participles, we abbreviate P-A-R-T. Participles look like verbs. And they act as adjectives. It looks like a verb. It's acting as an adjective. It's a participle. This is in our Monday notes if we needed clarification. I have a few words left in my sentence. I have the word for. What is for describing? For is describing the items. If it's describing a noun, it's an adjective. I also have the word the. A, an, and the. These are 3 specific kinds of adjectives. What do we call them? Articles. Label the A-R-T. Now we're down to 2 words. The one that's a little bit easier is the word that shows relationship to a noun in a sentence. I can go around the box, between the box, into the box. What is the word into? It's a preposition. What word is it showing relationship to? It's showing relationship to the room. Ladies in dressing are describing that room. We're down to one last word. Our last word is the word only. We have to ask ourselves, what does only modify? Only what? Only for. If it's describing an adjective, it's going to be an adverb. Adverbs modify adjectives. Now let's look at Tuesday. While on Monday we were looking for parts of speech, on Tuesday we're looking for sentence parts. This includes looking for our subjects and our verbs. I think it's easiest to start with the verb. Where do you see your verbs in this sentence? Label all of the primary verbs V. There's only one. We saw it on Monday. It's the verb take. Now, take is an action verb. This is going to be helpful information as we decide whether or not we have a direct object using our complement chart. Complements complete the meaning of the subject and the verb. We need to figure out where our subject is. This is a little tricky. In order to do this, let's see what's doing the taking. Ailey's doing the taking. But wait a minute. Ailey is not functioning as a subject. It's functioning as something else. Can you figure out what it is? This would be when you give anyone a command. Jacob, can you move that picture? Janelle, meet me in my office. All of these commands, when given to a specific person, have a noun of direct address, an NDA. Something can't function as both an NDA and as a subject. So what's the subject? Do you guys remember learning about understood use? Whenever you have a command, you're commanding somebody. This is our understood you, so we have to add it in. It's going to fit right here in our sentence. Ailey, you take only 4 items into the ladies' dressing room. Now we can use our complement chart to figure out whether or not we have a direct object. Go ahead and reference your complement chart now. Here is our complement chart. There are 3 types of complements that we're looking at today. Keep in mind, there's also an indirect object, but we're not talking about that today in our chart. For our DO, direct object, the verb type is action, it follows an action verb, and it functions as a noun or a pronoun. To have a predicate nominative, it follows a linking verb, and it functions as a noun or a pronoun. It can also be a predicate adjective, a PA. This also follows a linking verb, but it functions as an adjective. Hopefully that'll help us to make our decision as we look for complements in this sentence. Let's do our test. Subject, verb, what or who. You, our subject, take, our verb, what or who. Items. You take items. It fits the test. Now we need to check our chart. Do I have an action, a linking, or a helping verb? I have an action verb. There is something that answers the question, subject, verb, what? There is an action verb. The final word is a noun. Do I have a direct object? I do. If it has a direct object, is it a transitive or an intransitive verb? It's a transitive verb. Transitive verbs have direct objects. The last thing I need to do is I need to mark my prepositional phrase and do my underlining. A prepositional phrase begins with a preposition. It ends after a noun or pronoun. Into the ladies. Well, that would kind of make sense, but not completely. Sounds like you're running into them. Into the ladies' dressing room. We're going into the room. We're not walking into a group of ladies. What is my OP, my object of the preposition? It's the noun or pronoun at the end of a prepositional phrase. Room. And I have to figure out what this prepositional phrase, this group of words, is modifying or describing. That'll tell us whether it is an adverb or an adjective prep phrase. Is it Ailey into the ladies' dressing room? Items into the ladies' dressing room? Or take into the ladies' dressing room? We're taking something into this room. So it's an adverb prep phrase. The last thing we need to do is underlining. Remember, NDAs never get underlined. I already underlined my subject one time for you a little bit earlier. If you haven't done it yet, don't forget to do it. Are there any words describing you? Not really. Let's underline our verb 2 times. Is it you only 4 items into the ladies' dressing room? Doesn't make much sense. Take only 4 items into the ladies' dressing room? Yes, this is all completing my complete verb. Now we're ready for Wednesday. Just like we liked Ailey being outside of the underlining, we're going to leave her outside of our clause as the noun of direct address. So we'll start with our understood you, and we don't need to write it again. It's assumed that it's still there. So you can go ahead and mark your bracket at the start of the sentence, leaving out your noun of direct address, which can be an orphan and not inside the house, the brackets. We're going to go until the sentence makes sense. Take only 4 items. Well, that makes sense. Why can I not put this bracket here? What would I need out in this part? I need a subject and a verb. Since I don't have it out there, it's like not having a mom and dad in this sentence, and I have to bring it all the way to the very end. I know what kind of clause this is without even thinking, because I know I must always have at least one independent clause. So this is an independent clause. This means I don't have a fragment. It's a complete sentence. It can stand by itself. It's independent. If I have one clause, it's going to be a simple sentence. And is this making a statement, a command, question, or an exclamation? The sentence purpose is imperative. Imperative means very important, like making a command. Now we're ready for Thursday. Let's capitalize the first word of our sentence. Conveniently, the first word of our sentence is also a name. It would need to be capitalized anyways. When I use a noun of direct address, even if it's in the middle of a sentence, we always set it apart with commas. If it was in the middle of the sentence, it would have a comma on both sides. Since it's at the start, we only need it after. We also are going to need a punctuation mark at the end of the sentence. What do you choose? This would probably be really weird to shout at somebody, so we're going to stick with a period unless you really want to make it an exclamation. If you make it an exclamation, don't forget to go back and change your sentence type as well. It would be exclaiming something. The last thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we make our possessives include a apostrophe. Where do you see a possessive word? We labeled it on Monday. Ladies. Wait, what's the rule for this? If you look back in Thursday notes, under apostrophe, it says, if you have a plural and it ends in S, add an apostrophe only. An example is the dog's owners. The apostrophe goes after the S. What will we do here? Add an apostrophe. Now we're ready for Friday. How many clauses do I need? 1 clause, 1 cross. 2 clauses, 2 crosses. On Wednesday, we only had 1 set of brackets. That says we only have 1 clause. We're going to need 1 cross. Give yourself plenty of room. On the left-hand side, you put your subject. On Tuesday, we said that you, in parentheses, because it's not written, it's an understood you, is going to be our subject. Our verb, there's no helping verbs. It's just the action verb, take. What are we taking? What's completing, complementing our subject and verb? You take what? You take items. Why is this line in between the two words straight? Because it's a direct object. Notice it only goes to meet this line right here. The next thing we need is our prepositional phrase. We said it was an adverb prep phrase describing the verb, so it will go under the verb. Slanted line, straight line. On the slant, we always put our preposition, into. It's labeled on Monday. On the straight line, we'll put our object of the preposition. On Tuesday, we said it was room, OP. The describing words go underneath it at a slant. Which waiting room? The ladies. And there's one last tricky thing here. We have a participle. Can you look in your Friday notes and see what we do with a participle? We're going to put it at a slant, just like a prepositional phrase, and we're going to write it across. It's going across the slant at like an arrow. Nice. The last thing we have are the words for and only. For describes the items, 4 items. And only describes 4, only 4. Our adverb will go under the adjective. We have one last word. It's the noun of direct address. What do we do with it? It's in your Friday notes. Put it up above your sentence on its own line. It's not part of the clause. Don't forget to capitalize it because it's a capital proper noun. And we're all done with week 11. Thank you.